Yes, Datta. Recording started. You can start.
Okay, all right. So let's begin. Okay, so in this today's training, so I'm going to cover all these points. So what is SSL, why it is required, how to obtain the SSL certificates, where to obtain the SSL certificate. Like we'll have two types of certificates, trusted and self-signed certificates. So we'll check like how to get both of types. So then there is a free SSL provider. It's called Let's Encrypt. So we'll see that as well in details. The role of domain ownership verification, that is also important to get the SSL certificates. Then next important point is the configuration point. So once we get the certificates, so we'll not get single certificates, which will get certificates in the parts like what is a uh, root certificates, then there is a multiple intermediate certificates, and then our certificate for our websites. So we need to combine them in like proper order. So we will check that what will be the correct order for this. Then we'll check like configuring those SSL certificates using NGINX. So then some NGINX configurations, like all best practices. So all those things we will check one by one. Okay. So first, like what is SSL? Like, so it is a important part in the websites nowadays, and it is very important for to build the secure websites, right? So let's imagine we don't have any SSLs. So we are in like old era. So we are using still HTTP protocol. And what will happen if we stay, if we still using that? And in today's world, what could be the impact of that? Okay. So imagine you are in like maybe in a railway station or mall or in airport, and you are using free Wi-Fi. Okay. So the whoever is the network admin there, he can have a control and he can see all the traffic, like what is data being transferred using HTTP protocol. So he can able to see, they can make any script and can be able to manipulate the data in between. So all this happens if you are not using SSL certificates. So the main role of SSL certificate is to encrypt the data that is being sent from the client side, like web browsers here, like, and it is decrypted on the server side. So uh, I believe ki everyone knows here like what is encryption, decryption, right? So basically, in encryption and decryption, we have two keys. Like one key is to encrypt, and another key is to decrypt the whatever encrypted using the encryption keys. So that part also I will explain you in the later stage. So these are the important part. These are the problems. That's why this SSL is required. And so now we are using all the secure sites, and it is essential, like very essential for all of us or all of our clients to have the SSL certificates. So Andre always said that even if you are building any like application, backend, front end, anything, even if it's on development, like on our developers machine as well. So he advised to use the certificates, like maybe self-signed certificates, because on local we cannot use any SSL certificate that is provided by some secure authorities. But on local we can able to use the self-signed certificates. So it's Andre's advice. So we should always use any certificates at least. So this is all about the introduction. So then next step, like now we need SSL certificate. Like what are the stages to get the SSL certificates? What are the ways to get the SSL certificates? So right now we have three ways from where we can able to get the SSL certificates. Like first, by purchasing from the trusted providers. So uh, so we have some companies, they have authorities to sell these certificates. So we can buy certificates from there, and they will issue us certificates for 1 year, and we have to pay them. So it's not free at all by these trusted certificates. Then second method is we can also generate our own certificates using like OpenSSL protocol. So that is called self-signed certificates. Then third option, that is a free one. So this Let's Encrypt is one of the open source organization. They aim to have every website like secured. So they are also trusted providers, and they issue us like free of cost SSL certificates for 3 months. For every 3 months, we have to renew those certificates. And if you purchase from any trusted providers, they issue us certificates for 1 year. This is like main difference between Let's Encrypt and other trusted providers. So we'll go one by one. So we'll show you like how to get the certificates and all those things. So obtaining certificates, uh, in order to get the certificates purchased from any providers. So first we need to make the CSR. So CSR is like certificate signing request. So it contains basically, as I said earlier, for encryption, we need two things. First is the private key, and second is the public key. So certificate here is uh, in the role of public key, and we cannot share private key to anyone. So even if you present anywhere, or first thing that everyone has to note, that this private key has to be kept at secure place. It should not be shared to anyone, because if once it's shared, then anyone can use our certificates basically. Okay, so it's important to keep it private as a private key. So then I mentioned here command like to generate the SSL CSR request. So in order to get the certificates from any trusted providers, so they will basically ask you this CSR file, and that CSR file contents we have to either upload or copy paste onto their website. So they will issue a certificate for us. So I will execute this command. So this will help you to see like what are the important points. SSL. Okay, so here in a terminal. Screen is
Datta, we
visible.
able to see your screen.
It's coming up. Now it's visible, right?
Yes.
Okay. So once we request certificate, there are few questions that is asked by this command, and we have to fill this certificate, all these details. Like if you are issuing uh, certificate from like an Indian company, then we have to set like India, full name of the state name, like Maharashtra, Pune, not like IT department. Okay, this is important one. So we have to mention here domain name. So for which exactly domain we are going to request this certificate. So in our case, like innovateIT.com. Email address, like an email address for contact purpose. So I'll keep it blank. Company name, blank. Okay, that's it. So we have now two things: domain CSR and the private key. So once we, let's say for example, we use this CSR, so you can see the content of CSR file. So it will look like this: begin certificate request, and we have to use this contents, and we can go into the any site, and from there we can buy using this content. This is basically linked with your uh, private key and the certificate that we are getting from the this third party issuers. So so once your CSS this content is visible, one important thing here. So let's say, for example, you obtain the certificate from the these providers, and somehow you miss this private key. Maybe you deleted, or maybe you, like, whatever happened. Then there is no use for this certificate. So it will be voided, because in order to use that certificate, you must have to have same key. It will not work any other key. So important. We need to keep it at secure place, and we need to keep it like somewhere in the safe place. Okay. So here we like generated two files now: domain CSR and domain request. So we also need to keep this CSR as well, because whenever we renew the certificate, same file again required. So we can upload same file and get the renewed certificates, and so we can, in order to use the same private key. So in this case, no need to change the key. But if you generate again different CSR, then we have to use the different key as well. Okay.
Yeah.
Back. Okay. So once we obtain the CSR, we have to submit the CSR
Uh-huh.
to certificate authority. Then certificate authority will give us the certificate files. So they will not directly provide us certificate files. Before that, there is an important stage before issuing any certificate to us, is that we need to verify the domain that we own. Okay, so in this certificate, I mentioned the innovateIT.com. So they first verifies that whoever is requesting this certificate, he has to first verify the domain certificates. So for this, again, we have three. This step is also important, because in order to get the certificates, first we have to verify using either email, mm, maybe adding some DNS records, and they will provide us some randomly generated unique file, and they will ask us to host that file into our domain, and they will verify by tapping that URL. So it is generally hosted in the well-known folder. So they will hit this particular URL and check if the file that they issued to us is matching. So in this way, they will verify that we are the owner of the particular domain. Okay. So let's go back. So here are some popular SSL providers. Like the paid ones are DigiCert, Global Sign, GoDaddy, and for free one, so we have Let's Encrypt in order to get the free certificates. Then next point is like there are two types of certificates. One is the trusted one, and another is the self-signed certificate. So what is difference between these two? So this trusted certificate is issued by any certificate authorities, and it is validated and widely accepted. So all these certificates that are generally stored into the all computer mobiles in the operating system. So by this way, the browsers and like all the client-side application know this is the trusted certificate. And self-signed certificate, the certificate that we generate. So we generate the both certificate file as well as the private key. So to generate this file, I have mentioned the command here. You guys can check later. So we'll share this PPT there. So after getting this file, basically two files are generated. First is the private key, and the second is the CRT certificate file. So in this certificate file, we just have one certificate, and we don't have any chain or maybe root certificate or intermediate certificates. So we just have public key or private key, or certificate and private key. So in this case, no need for any CSR, because we own the certificate. So we just have one certificate, and we don't have any chain or maybe root certificate or intermediate certificates. So we just have public key or private key. So in this case, no need for any CSR, because we own the certificate. So in this case, no need for any CSR, because we own Like we are generating our own. We are not sharing anywhere. So no need for CSR file here. Okay. So again, another difference between self-signed certificate and trusted certificates. So you oftenly seen maybe this screen. Sometimes we in the Chrome we get such kind of screen, right? So this indicates that the site that is hosted has SSL certificate, but that might be having some issues, like that certificate is not either matching domain name, maybe that certificate is expired, or maybe that certificate is not trusted one. So in this case, we generally see this screen, and they exactly mention the what's wrong with this certificate file. And if the certificate is valid, then we usually see this kind of, like, if we tap on this icon here, so we'll see that options to validate the token details. So after clicking, we see this dialog. So we see all the details, like which company, all those information we saw that on while generating the CSR request, right? So same information is presented here. So here we additionally have when this certificate is issued by the certificate issuers, and when this certificate is going to expire. So all these details we can see here. We can able to also, once we set up an SSL certificate, we can validate by using this screen as well. Okay. So next point. Okay, so if you don't want to purchase, then we have this good option. So we can use directly from Let's Encrypt, and this is like automated process. So if you are using Ubuntu, Mac, so you need to install the certbot. So certbot is a like utility software uh, that is built in the Python. So that's why you need Python as well installed there, and it is specifically used for the engineering server, because what it does, so it obtain the certificate uh, from the Let's Encrypt provider. Before obtaining certificate, again the domain verification has to be verified. So whatever required, like I said, third method, so we can host that small file into our server. So this certbot automatically install that file obtained from Let's Encrypt. It installs on the NGINX configuration, it modifies, it restart the NGINX configuration. So Let's Encrypt verifies that ownership, and once it's verified, uh, we get the certificate automatically, and then Threadbot automatically delete that hosted file as well. So all this happens by just using this one single command. So here important is that you just need to have the domain control on your side. But if you're trying this on local, it will not work, because uh, the domain is not pointing to your local machines, right? So it will not work on domains, local machines. It has to be installed on some servers where we have domains. Even it is not possible to get certificate for IPs as well, because it must to have the domains. Okay, so the next point here, domain ownership verification, we already covered. Okay, so this is again an important process. So once we get the certificate from the certificate authorities. So they generally give us, sometimes they give us one file, and we have to check other files on their website. They are publicly hosted, like intermediate certificates and the root certificates. Sometimes they mail us three files or maybe two files. So domain certificate, that one is the important one for us. Then intermediate certificates and the root certificates. So when we configure in the Nginx, it is mandatory to combine all those certificate in correct order. So it will be installed correctly in the Nginx. And if you are using the Apache server, in Apache server, there is option to configure your domain certificate and all other certificates like intermediate and root certificate in one file, and that has to be configured on separately. So this is again based upon different web servers. It is different configurations. But today we are going to use only Nginx configurations. So for Nginx, we have to combine all these files. So combining, we have to make sure that domain certificate that has to be placed on top of the file. Okay. Then next certificate will be a intermediate certificates. So intermediate certificate, might be one or might be more than one. So that has to be, all the certificates in correct order has to be placed in the correct order. Then at the bottom of the file, there will be a root certificates. So this order is very important. If order is not important, then most of the browser will not understand the correct way valid. So I will show this how it impacts as well, this correct order. So next, so now we have all information, like we got the certificate, we created the bundle file using correct order. So we have private key as well. Okay. So next step is to configure into the Nginx server. So in Nginx server, we have server block. So under server block, so before server block, we have HTTP block. In HTTP block, we can able to configure the multiple server blocks. Let's say you have subdomains or maybe multiple domains, and that is pointing to single server. So you can able to configure multiple domains here. So you can just need to repeat this block multiple times, and you can mention here your domain names. Like you can mention multiple domain names using space. So this 443 is default force. So we need to mention here SSL, and then we have to configure the path. So we have to store that bundle file and the private key. So bundle file has to be configured into this path, and the certificate key has to be configured in the this parameter. So once you configure this, the next step is to restart the Nginx server. So once you restart, that certificate will be loaded and it will be applied for your domain. So then you can able to verify, you can open your website. There are tools, some tools as well to check the configurations. We'll skip that as well. So next slide. Okay. So again, this is also important thing. So let's say we generally support both, like user sometime type www.innovatit.com or some simply like innovatit.com, and they will generally not mention any protocols. Okay. So generally browsers use whenever user does not mention any protocol, they use HTTP. And if you have HTTPS, then it is important for us to move the user from, if it comes from the HTTP to secure website, HTTPS. Then in Nginx, we can able to configure it this way, like the server. Again, this is same server block. So as I said earlier, we can able to configure these server blocks multiple times. But here difference is that this is listening on the 80 port. So 80 port is the default port for HTTP protocol. So here we mentioned like the domain name for which domain it will be matched, and then one simple line that will redirect like user. If user is adding like whole URL, then automatically just it will be redirected to HTTPS. So rest of the part will be like all the URL and all parameters remains there. So if you mention this way, and once you add this block, you just need to reload the Nginx. You can either reload or restart as well. But important thing, like difference between this reload and restart. So whenever you install certificate, that has to be restarted because Nginx generally loads the certificates before starting. And this reload command only applies the changes whatever made in the configuration files. It generally not loads the certificate files. So that's why this important thing you have to take. Otherwise, what we'll do, we generally have reload is the best practice generally. But when you configure or update any certificates, and if you just do reload, uh, the certificate is not getting changed. So important for us to use the restart command. So then next step is to verify the all the configuration we have correctly configured or not. So I generally prefer this website. So it has clear visibility. So we have configured all correct in correct order. So domain has correctly configured or not. So I will show you this site as well.
It's 5 o'clock.
Okay, so we can just put any website, innovatit.com. Okay, so it gives you all the details like Enovate results to this IP, the server is Nginx, service is issued by this one of the provider. then the certificate file will expire in the 60 days. And there is here, and then we need to renew certificate. Okay, and then certificate has the correct order. So like first has to be the website or domain certificate. Then this is the intermediate certificate. So intermediate certificates, we have two intermediate certificates, and the last one is the root certificates. So it verifies like everything is correct. But if you misplace this any order, it will show us like a red symbol here. Like for example, this is okay, but this is not in the correct order, and it will block. It will give us a red signature here. So for example, this will be a not in correct order then, or it is like expired or anything happened with this certificate. So it will give us indication that this is something wrong here. So this way we can able to configure or verify the our configurations. So this is good site. So I usually use this site for verification. Okay. Then next is share. Okay. So next thing, like on local, we generally will not able to use the purchased or let's include certificates. To use the certificates like self-generated or self-signed certificate, so we will directly get the private key and the certificate that has we need to store somewhere. And this is like script for Node.js. So here we usually configure the key file and certificate file, and we will create this server. So this is like native HTTP server, but if we are using Express.js, they will also have provision to provide this key, private key, and certificate file. And this way we can able to use any keys that we generated. So even on local as well. But the only thing is that if we use the SSL certificate, then and if you are using any clients, HTTP clients, maybe browser or maybe any script as well as any softwares that are being used these APIs, there need to additionally we need to provide the option that this is the self-signed certificate. So we need to ignore that part. So that thing we need to keep in the mind if you are using any self-signed certificates. You will get this code as well later on, but you can easily get like all the configurations. So now the last point is best practices. So I didn't get time for this slide, but I can directly show on the website. It's like what are the good things that we have to consider while configuring NGINX. So I will share directly terminal again. Okay, one more important thing. So in order to change any configurations in the Nginx, you should have the root access there, because it is all these configurations are hosted in the like secure folders. So it must have a root access. Right now, I'm just showing you the configuration, so no need for root access to just show files. Okay. The Nginx file configurations are generally kept in the etc Nginx folder, and this file is nginx.config is the main file. So this is the entry point file, and one of the best practice here is enabling gzip option. By default, this option is not enabled, so it is important for us to add those like 5 to 6 lines. So this will give us like major speed performance after putting this in the Nginx. Because like if you have CSS file or JS file or any HTML or any files, images. So for example, you have 1 MB of file, and imagine that you are using some slow connection. So getting downloaded that 1 MB will take like a lot of time. So that website rendering will be like taking too much times to load. To make it faster, it is important to enable this gzip file. So what NGINX do, if once you enable this, so here are some configurations and here are the types. So gzip will be enabled for here like text plain files, CSS files, JSON files, so like all files, images and all those things we have to mention here. And NGINX will apply gzip compression methodology to those files. So your 1 MB file will become a like 150 KB. So it is huge difference, and it will be a very quicker. So it is one of the best practice. So you should always consider this gzip option for your websites.
So Datta, for this we also need to change something on the client side, right? Like we need to send a encrypted.
No. So generally browsers, how this works, I will show you.
Mhm.
So any website. See. Screen is visible, right? Full screen.
No. Yeah, no.
Okay. So if you see any website request, so in the request headers, accept encoding parameter is passed. So here is one of the gzip. So NGINX identifies this if that browser or client side able to decompress that whatever compressed on the server side. If this gzip is enabled, then only it compress the assets that we store. And generally these browsers are by default it is enabled. But if you are using other than browser like other clients, then yes, you need to enable this. Is it answer your question?
Yeah. So if we are calling it from Android or iOS, we need to.
I believe that like in modern days, all these popular libraries by default this should be enabled there. But if not, then yes, need to ensure that. If it is not passed, then server doesn't know like the client is going to support the decompression or not. That's
Mm.
why NGINX listen this parameter, accept and play.
Okay.
Okay, so then we have some sites that are hosted on the server, and additional configurations files are imported here. So one of the files, those are hosted in this directory. So then I have this all these files hosted like additional websites. For each domain, I have created separate files. So here, you see. So here two options here. First thing, I have two blocks, server blocks. So one is this one. This block serves the basic like HTTP yes request, and this is for just for HTTP listening on 80 port. So this blocks just redirects any request that is coming from without HTTP, without HTTPS to the HTTPS. So whatever URL coming here, it will be redirected to this block, and all the requests from here are this is called the reverse proxy. So engine is just serving here role of intermediate role, like it is handling retrieving the user request, and it's passing that request to the this backend, and whatever response coming from backend, it is again those gzip and all those things are enabled. Then it compress the response from the here we are using Node.js server. So it compresses the response and it will send this response to the client. So Nginx does this all these roles here. And there are some parameters that these parameters also very important because sometimes you need the user IP, right? And for your Node.js server, the request is coming from Nginx. So it will always give the local IP. So in order to get the actual user IP, so there are these standard ways to get the host and on the IPs and protocols, original protocols. because if you need to all these parameters, then this is the way. So we can forward those parameters in the different headers. So this way we can able to access those parameters in the Node.js or any servers anywhere in our code. Yeah. So next. Yeah. So it's all about, if you have a question, so let's discuss about the questions.
I think everyone is clear.
Oh, really? So let's play the game.
Sir, I have a question. For different protocols, we need to add a different configuration. For example, sockets.
Yes, if you have WebSocket, then you have to configure different block there. So like HTTP, you will have to configure WS block. But generally, this nowadays, both if you are using sockets like WebSockets, then HTTP also serve that request. It is capable to handle the WebSockets as well. Just for WebSockets, but if you are using other than WebSockets, then yes, obviously you have to configure the different blocks.
Okay, thanks.
Sir, I have one question.
Yes.
So, sir, if we take the government website, so some websites are work on Mozilla Firefox browser and Chrome, yeah, it's not working. And if you open in the Chrome, it say like connection is not private. You have to proceed, and you have to just you show the image like a private one, and you have to proceed with there. So it is happening due to SSL certificate, or it may be due to other certificates.
Okay. So the main reason for this, like sometimes it works in the Chrome or maybe in Mozilla only, and it not works for all, or maybe it browser dependent, because some browsers are smart. They just check the main certificate file issued for our domain only, and they are not checking it is trusted or maybe the full chain. So those browsers show this correctly, but some browsers check the all the certificate chains correct in the correct order. So there it sometimes display this those error messages. The main reason behind this is this difference. Correct chain is important, and if correct chain is not configured, then it shows there's a broken. So in order to check that configuration, so if you use this website, do you have any example? I can show you like there.
Don't know, but generally on the government website it shows, so that's why.
So you can just put this URL here and see, like if everything is green, then it should work in all the browsers. And if something is missing here, you will like it, instead of this right image, it will become like red, and you will understand where is the problem.
Okay, we'll check.
Sir, what is the use of DNS records? We have to set these different DMARC and A record.
What is DMARC?
No, DMARC record. Like I saw somewhere that DMARC record and A record, all of these records we have to set DNS records when setting up websites, hosting.
So in order to verify this ownership, domain ownership, so wherever we purchase this domain, so like most popular website, GoDaddy.com, right? So once we log in there, so we see all these options there. So basically it is called the DNS zones records. So there are different records like text records. Then for mail purpose, it is MS record, mail server records. For the all the zone, it is called server namespace. There are different types of records that are used for multiple purposes. Like there are various purposes for related to domain. The one is popular one is the TXT record.
These are also provided by the SSL provider, or
No, it is not related to SSL. It is about verifying the domain ownership.
Datta, can I add to your explanation here?
Yes.
Okay. So Prashin, the thing that you talked about, the DMARC records and other records that are there. So specifically, DMARC is there for identifying the domain, and that is basically when we are sending an email. Okay, so let's say if we are using innovateIT.com and we are sending an email from RV, like our domain, like rv142@innovateIT.com, right? So if currently we are hosted at Gmail itself, but if we are not hosted at Gmail, so whenever we are sending it from our domain, it needs to be verified, and then only it reaches the recipient. If our domain does not have a DMARC record, then all our emails will go into the spam folder. Okay, so that's why we need that DMARC records and other SPF records to verify our domain.
Okay, got it. So when we send a email using our innovateIT.com, then if it is not hosted, the mail server is not hosted, or the domain is not hosted, then Gmail first verifies that our domain has this DMARC record, and then it sends the email through our server.
Correct.
Okay.
It will still send an email, but then it will go to a spam folder. It will understand that okay, that particular domain is not registered and it has some junk email.
Got it. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Any other questions?
Sir, I've heard that we can use NGINX as a load balancer also. So,
Yes.
so like, does that require, I mean, any other specific, like, what is the, how does it handle that configuration? Because load balancing we can also do at the development level through our code. And
Okay.
how is it different from our, if we do it using some library, third-party library in directly code, or using NGINX?
So NGINX uses like some algorithms. I think it uses round robin algorithm to divide the traffic. So as I shown you, we have a reverse proxy, right? So we can able to
Yes.
configure that server, that host with some list of different ports or different machine private IPs. So whenever request comes to NGINX, it checks like you have four, for example, different servers that are handling all those load. So first request goes to first server, and then let's say if we get second request to NGINX, so it will redirect that request to another proxy server. So this way it will handle in the round robin algorithm. So generally, if you don't have much data traffic, then we can use the NGINX, but it will not handle large amount of data, large amount of traffic.
Okay.
But yes, it can be used to load balance as well.
Datta,
Yes.
we can use like rate limiting also. Inbuilt, they provide like NGINX, right?
Yes. So rate limiting can be also configured using NGINX.
Mhm.
So rate limiting can be done by identify, for example, particular user IP or maybe some token or something like this.
Mhm.
And based upon that, we can able to rate limit on the NGINX level itself. No need to. So it will be restricted on NGINX level only, and it will not follow proxy that request to our main servers, like proxy servers. And also there are some libraries, like sometimes we need to identify the location of the user by their IP address, right? So there is
Country,
a GODB library. It is called GODB library. So it is basically NGINX extension that has some database file. So by the IP, it tracks from which country the request is coming, and it will add the additional request header in the NGINX parameter, and we can able to see like from which country the request is coming, and we can able to customize, or maybe we can able to localize. We can able to localize the our maybe language preferences on all those things.
Datas, have a question. So typically when a project gets notifications, like whatever webhook notifications, like let's say for payment, let's say something was credited into account. So in that, like you explained that in X forwarded form, we get the last IP address. But if it's possible, like if somebody got access to my account, and what they're doing is they're forwarding that like that payload basically to their server, and then they're modifying it. Let's say an amount of 10 was credited, they're taking that, they're again modifying it, and they're sending it to my server with an amount of 100. So in that case, is it when we're checking for the X forwarded for IPs, so should we check only up to a limit of 1, because we get an array of it? So should we check, okay, if I'm doing an IP verification of trusted servers, so I should check like maximum up to like length 1. After that, I should discard all the ones. Like if it's not present, if it's coming from another server, let's say there are 2 hops for this message to reach me. So is that something is that a valid way, or is there something more, a better approach to that?
Okay, see, it's not about NGINX configuration and all this, but it's more about like what approach we should choose, right? So it's totally depends upon how we trust the intermediates, right? So if you are trusting intermediate and it is trusted one for us, then we can just verify that request is coming from that particular IP. And you need to, if they on their side they are not verifying that that request is coming from that origin, and that is not trusted or not, that then first thing they has to be verified on their side as well. But if they are not validating, then yes, obviously we have to verify all the intermediates one.
Got it. Got it. And so for Let's Encrypt, typically like I heard they provide like TLS certificates. So in your recommendation, which ones should we typically use? Like let's say some older certificate authorities, they still provide SSL certificates. So which should be preferred in today's modern world, SSL certificates or TLS certificates?
I don't think it is. What's the difference between this TLS? So are you talking about any version or?
Those are basically like different protocols. Both are like for secure communication, and I think NGINX supports both. But I'm not sure like which is like. To me, it is like TLS is the preferred approach, because
Yes,
let's
TLS.
encrypt. Oh, okay.
Any other questions? So done with questions?
Yeah, I think so.
So should I show next slide? Last one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Datta.
Thank you, Datta.
Thank you, Datta.
I hope everyone
Thank you, sir.
get the basics about what SSL, how it can be issued, how we can configure with the NGINX. If still you have any concerns or doubts, you can concern with the Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.